What's going on, everybody? I'm Kevin from Cigar Prop, and it is another Drew Estate Tabak and Tech Tip Sunday. This morning, I'm powering it with A&W root beer. Oh my God, I had one of these the other morning, and I love Monster. Gets me going, but man, the pairing of the A&W root beer and the Tabak is just so tasty. All right. So today's tech tip is sometimes you gotta fix what's broken to find out what's broken. So a couple times this week, we've had some issues. One with me, some with the other techs, is finding a customer complaining of an issue. On mine, it was in a noise. And it's a very distinct noise. It's a bearing noise. And I know it's a bearing noise. And damn it, if I couldn't pinpoint the bearing that was going bad on the front end of this vehicle. And I'm probably 90% sure that it's a bearing. We get up in the air. A lot of times if we can't figure it out going down the road, you turn the wheel side to side. If the car dips and the noise stops, you can kind of pinpoint which side by loading or unloading that bearing. That didn't work in this case. Got it up in the air. I sat in the vehicle driving it, keeping up the speed. We had another tech underneath with his stethoscope going on the bearings. He couldn't find it. We heard it. We couldn't pinpoint which one was bad, because the car didn't have any brakes. They were essentially metal to metal, rotors completely rusted. The car needed to have some work done. It was an all-wheel drive vehicle. The front differential fluid, super dark and smelly. Transfer case fluid, dark and smelly. So it's one of those situations I had to go to the customer and break the news. We've got to fix some things before we can pinpoint, because these bearings are not cheap. So we end up doing front pads, front rotors, front and rear differential service, transfer case service, and he ended up doing rear pads and rotors as well. Car came from up north, rotors just super rusty. There's no turning those pits out of it. Rear brakes were getting down. He's like, let's just get it all done, all at the same time. So we got the whole job all buttoned up, everything nice, took it for a spin, maybe something fixed the problem. It did not. We brought it back in. We were able to pinpoint the bearing pretty easily now that everything, and laddering tore apart. We're spinning. We still can't pinpoint. And it was just one of these things. A noise can reverberate back and forth through the car. But we did find the bearing, went to the customer. We got the bearing. Unfortunately, all the brakes I just did, I've got to tear back apart. But he was super cool. And I'm like, here's what I'm going to do. I said, you've already paid to have the brakes done. So the bearing, the labor is going to be 50% off the bearing. We're going to cut you a break on the bearing. And the customer's just happy. Yeah, just go ahead and get it done. I want the car to be safe. It doesn't always go as smoothly as that. Another vehicle come in, not one I was working on, a strange noise coming from the front end. And it was, sometimes on bumps, sometimes not on bumps. And it was just this strange clicking type sound. Technician is like, Kevin, can you take this for a drive? And we do that all the time. You just tell me what you think. A lot of times we don't give a lot of information because we don't want to taint each other's opinion. Like, hey, I'm leaning towards this. Can you go? And we don't. Like, hey, get the noise, give it a good listen. So we bring it back in. After a drive, we get up in the air, right front strut, just puked everything. All of its fluid out. I mean, it's sagging just a little bit. And I'm like, boy, we're both like, that noise, that's not, yet puked all the fluid, like 150,000 miles. It could be the bearing plate on the strut. It's just worn out. That could be it. but it is such a distinct noise. So once again, we had to go to the customer. We're not 100% where this noise is coming from. You have got a broken strut. I mean, it puked all its fluid. It's on the back of the rotor. We don't think the pads, from looking at it through the caliper, the pads were soaked. We think we can clean everything up so you're not having to put brake pads on it and turning the rotors, but your strut completely blown out. We've got to start here. And unfortunately with struts, it's one of those things, with shocks and even brake rotors, brake calipers, there are things that are always done in pairs. You just want to have them done. So it's like brake calipers. You've got one brand new brake caliper on there and then one that's got 100,000 miles on it. That brand new one is always going to grab just like it was brand new. And you're going to get a pulling one, to that side with the new brake caliper. So you always want to do those in pairs. Same with brake rotors, brake pads, shocks, struts. You want to do them in pairs. And, struts can be, this one was, it's like $1,800 to replace a set of struts. And then again, we've got to fix what's broken. This is broken, and it's actually becoming a dangerous condition with the fluid leaking, onto the brakes. So customer agreed to that. Put those on. Clicking was still there, driving us mad. And just out of curiosity, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to check TSBs on this. And it's one thing that we normally do. They're called technical service bulletins. They're not just available to me. They're available to the consumer. You should look up technical service bulletins, TSBs, on your vehicle just to see if there's something out there. You may not know you're having an issue, but you read a TSB and you're like, oh, hey, my car is doing that. I never noticed, and here is a quick fix. Sometimes it's quick, sometimes it's not. This vehicle was a quick fix. End up being a caliper slide pin. Some of them were machined too small, so it just allowed the caliper to click. Why it didn't do this, for the life of the vehicle, and it just started, we'll never know. So, and my cigar went out. That's what I get for talking so much. So we end up ordering a set of slide pins, and then let the customer know. So there's us being honest, and sometimes honesty, will get us in trouble, but it's a good kind of trouble that we want to be in. Let the customer know. End up being a slide pin was the issue, and it's not something that we could have. Of course, my ice maker chimes in right now. Hold on one second. All right. So yes, it was one of those things. By searching TSBs, I don't think we would have found it, looking for this noise. I happen to find it by going through every single TSB on this vehicle, line by line. And there were quite a few of them. And then I come across that, and in the description, I'm like, that might be it. So customer, a little irritated, to say the least, that a $20 part he had to spend a lot of money on to get fixed. But at the end of the day, he knew he resolved a safety issue, and then we fixed the problem. So there are times when you've got to spend money to figure out where you're going to spend more money. It sucks. It doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen often. So yeah, keep up with the maintenance on your car. Keep up so you don't run into these situations where you have to spend $1,000 just to figure out how to spend another couple $100. So keep up with your maintenance. Keep your vehicles inspected. I always say Tires Plus Firestone Complete Auto Care, Hidden Tires Plus Wheel Works. We do these $10 vehicle inspections. Your local mechanic probably does them as well. Get your vehicle inspected regularly to keep up on the small things so they don't snowball into bigger things. All right, cats and kittens, this has been another Drew Estate Tabak and Tech Tip Sunday. Make sure you look up TSB, Technical Service Bulletins, on your vehicle, and we'll see you back here next week.